just for you guys in the UK, Malta's treated this slightly different than we did at the beginning. Shut the airport very early, and they've been down to 1 or 2 cases a day. There were 0 cases, I think, on Sunday. So they've done tremendously well. And I can't see the airport opening up maybe till September, October, which means that they'll be opening the island up for the population very, very soon, it looks like. So they've done brilliantly well. So quite impressive. And because I believe that we're an island as well, but maybe we're too big an island, yeah. So, right. Thanks ever so much. Good to see so many people here today. Some people I know, quite a few I know, and a few that I don't. So welcome to those who don't know us and know little about what we've been doing. Usually we do these events face to face. So we, as a business, over the years, we've done plenty of face to face dinners where there might be 30, 40 people there, presentations, getting the messages across that we think are important to businesses, usually linked with IT because we're an IT organisation, but not always. The business processes and security and the likes. Obviously, we cannot do it face to face now, so we've trialled this webinar thing, and it's actually worked very well. We've had plenty of people who've had some really nice feedback, so we do appreciate feedback, both good and bad. And at the moment, some of it should be bad because we've never done this before, but it's quite light. We're trying to make it enjoyable for people. We're trying not to bore people too much. So this is the last in the April series. And it's going to be about security, because security, I see there's some real top security guys on here. There's a couple of CISOs here, security director here that I can see. And the 3 that I can see there really know their security, and they know this is a business thing. This is not an IT thing. Security is around everything we do. It's how we feel, and it's in our DNA. We should be working to reduce the business's risks, enhance them and that actually can be a cost, not just a cost saver, but can actually make you focus on the right things if you understand what information you've got. Now, times are changing very, very quickly. Not that attitude. We should look at exactly the same. We're reducing risks. We never eliminate risks. We try to control risks and reduce them to a level that we find acceptable or can afford to do. Now, they're 2 things. Can you afford to reduce that risk? If you can't, you've got to accept it and just say, well, that's the way we live. But as long as we know that it's there, and let the business make those decisions. Now, one thing that we have done as a business is an FGS. We've recently acquired Innovate, who are now FGSI. So the whole branding transition hasn't completed yet, but that will happen in due course. But this is a business that we have known for years and years. We worked together on setup back in '98, doing BS 7799, the forerunner to 27001. Now the ISO standard that we all know and love. And so on that, I will pass you over to the head of FGSI/Innovate, Andy Brophy, who some of you already know. Some of you I know on this call, Andy and his team have helped you get through 27001. And we know his pragmatic approach and as a person, what he's like. So, Andy, if I can pass without further ado, as they say back in the old Bull and Bush days of musicals. If you could, Andy, I will pass you over to you now to carry on the good work. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks everyone for joining. Like Pete said, I'm Andy, Andy Brophy. Been working with Pete for a long, long time. This seminar presentation, I suppose, is really looking how the world has changed since this COVID-19 outbreak. If you look historically, business continuity was taking a tiered approach, very planned, very controlled, maybe moved to a hot site, warm site, cold site. With COVID-19, it was a big bang approach. There was people decided that every single person is going to work from home as quickly as possible. I know people that were taking home desktop computers, dusting off old laptops, just to get people out and working. And now with this new world of furloughing, which I'd only heard in American films, people are now looking retrospectively and seeing who they can put on furlough to bring the cost down. So it's a complete kind of shift in terms of how business continuity was addressed. And that's introduced a number of new risks. I suppose the main issue is that people have now working from an uncontrolled environment. They're using their own PCs. A lot of people in customer service roles who are like frontline, I suppose, are now looked on a priority. And with rents and prices of houses in London, they're sharing their flats with flatmates who might be working for other organisations. They might be discussing confidential information or sensitive information, and there's a good chance it can be overheard. They're also using the unapproved applications, not for any malicious reason, just because it's quicker and it's easier to use. Phishing attacks, the clever cyber criminals have actually recognised this. There was a figure I saw, well, there's quite a number of figures on the number of phishing attacks coming up. It could be a 30% increase up to a 30,000% increase of phishing attacks since COVID-19. And that's kind of capitalising on that people have had to relax their security controls. And that's not just around the physical security. It might be that people were having to bring their laptops in to connect to the network environment to update patching. Backup tapes, for example, they might used to be taken off site. Help desk processes, Lots of people were verifying identity. I'm not saying this is a good way of doing it, but just confirming that the people were ringing up from the right extension. And then you've got some HR processes around, you have to see original documents as part of maybe the recruitment process. The key thing that's coming up at the moment is businesses need new applications to work, and they're just choosing them willy-nilly. And then there's the softer HR issues. That there is mental health issues. People are suffering from it. They're worried, anxiety. They're worried about their friends, family. They're getting distracted in terms of, people doing deliveries at the door, and they're running, leaving calls to go and do that. They're just getting distracted. These are great reasons for people to start doing phishing attacks. If you've got people that haven't got the eye on the ball, they're concerned about things, what a great time to start sending out phishing attacks to them in the hope that only one gets through, and then that will compromise what's going on. The key thing is really understanding the risks. How do you know your information is being protected? I mean, there's only some questions you need to ask people now. Are they using a corporate device? What IT systems are people accessing? And should they have access? If people are on furlough, and you've got a sales guy or a developer who's sitting down on furlough, might be thinking, do you know what, in 6 weeks' time, my job might not be there. What a great time to now start copying off information onto an external USB.
Sorry, Andy, if I just quickly interject. For those in Malta, I don't think furlough might not be part of your day-to-day, although it might be, vocabulary. In the UK, the government have said that you could furlough staff, which means during this period they don't work at all for you. They're not allowed to work for you, but the government will pay 80% of their wages. So it means they're not allowed access. They're not allowed to do any work. So they're the people Andy's talking about. Sorry, Andy, I just thought UK and Malta is slightly different.
Sorry, I suppose I should have explained that if it's not a term. Like I said, it was new to me. I only saw it in the American films.
Yeah.
If people are on this furlough and they're concerned that they might not have a job in a few months' time, and they can see the business isn't as great as it should be. Are they tempted to start downloading information, taking the client's list or taking the source code? You also got to start thinking, are our IT controls working? How confident are we that we're still patching? If people are printing, where are we storing that information? I'm not saying everybody's doing it at the moment, but generally, if we're complying with PCI, maybe some FCA regulations, it's got to be held securely. And you've got to think, hang on, everyone's working remotely. Can we still comply to, gaming license requirements? The key thing is also, how would we respond to a cyber attack? How do we know we're being attacked? Are our monitoring tools effective and efficient? I mean, there's a number of things you can put in place to kind of reduce risk, but the key thing is just get the basics right. Wherever possible, use a VPN or two-factor authentication. Encrypt whatever you can. Like I said, I know clients that were taking home desktop computers, didn't have enough laptops, and were using desktop computers at home with very sensitive information that's, in a shared environment. think keep patching. That's the main thing, that the message is everybody's getting across at the moment. Just keep patching as much as you can. If you can provide people with phishing training, there's lots of tools out there. We are reseller of some tools as well, but you might just want to start sending out messages to people. Let people know also that they've still got to comply with their policies. Everybody's relaxing in terms of how they dress, how they act, how they communicate from working from home. Let them know that they still need to comply with any of your security policies. And the key thing is ask people what they're concerned about. We're talking about risk at the moment, where just do a calculation, what's the likelihood, what's the impact of something happening. You can do that till the end of time, but really just ask people what are they concerned about. From there, they might decide that they might say, for example, that they can't comply with some GDPR requirement. If you use the term risk, that might put them down a different route, but just ask them what they're worried about, what can't they comply with, and then use that to actually increase security or actually understand where your risks are. I like this saying, which is prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Businesses are facing lots and lots of challenges. They've got new applications, they're using new suppliers, they've got new change processes and policies, they've got their staff. When we're going through the processes, if you've got 27,001 and you're onboarding suppliers, you might go through a very, very rigid approach to assessing their risk and looking at the contractual requirements. You still need to do that, but take a lighter touch. And if you look at a supplier and you cannot do a full security assessment, then let the business know. Let them to decide whether they should carry on using this business. Don't look at security or IT as being a blocker for the business. You're also going to find that you might have a number of processes out there for whatever teams you're working with. And let people know that they can raise exceptions, because if they start ignoring one policy, they start ignoring more and more and more, then you're going to end up with a gaping hole in how you manage security. But let them raise exceptions and don't blame them because they can't follow it. Just work with them and look for alternative solutions to addressing risk. I think one of the key things that we're all getting out of this new working world is we're learning. We're learning every day on how things are changing. If you looked a month ago, I don't think many people were aware of Zoom. Everybody's now using Zoom. Work with the business to kind of clarify what we can do to help them, and don't be looked on as stopping them, slowing them down in any way, because everything will be ignored. Use this new world as, like I said, a learning environment. What's not so great? What should we change in the future? What are we doing well? If we're doing things well, communicate it, share it with your peers as well. If you're in the gaming world and you're doing something that's new and refreshing, share it with your colleagues, don't hide it. And there's no doubt that with COVID, everything is going to change. An article in the newspaper today was looking at Canary Wharf in London, the financial centre, saying that they're going to be 20% occupancy in a couple of years. People are going to start working from home more and more. Obviously, there's a cost benefit of that. You'll save on rents. There's an environmental benefit that people won't be travelling so much into London. And in the longer term, can we reduce risk by, in example, putting in virtual desktops or hosted desktops that can really close down how people are working remotely? How can we help? Obviously, all the questions in here we can help you with. We've got penetration testers, auditors, we've got security operations centres, and we seem to have a nice niche where we work in iGaming, financial services, and we support technology companies. I think we're probably one of the best in the world at putting in 27,001. We've put in over 200 certifications, which have passed first time and within budget, which is a nice little badge. We're very proud of that.
Just a quick one to add to that. We've been using the over 200 for a couple of years. We think by the end of the year, we're going to be saying over 300. So we've got a lot on the go. And looking around, we don't think anybody else out there has done more than 150. So in the numbers, not in the sizes, but the numbers has been incredible over the years. And people who are very topical, like the World Health Organization, people like that, we've helped to achieve it as well. So Just sort of
Yeah,
mention that, so I quite like that name at the moment. Everyone knows them, yeah. So we're helping to save the world,
we are
basically.
self-employed.
Yeah, yeah.
I think also.
I'll be quiet now.
I think also that we are helping organisations with 27,001, but we're not naive enough to think that 27,001 is the panacea for all security. So we're now referencing into NIST, CSF, and UK government standards to get a more holistic approach to information security. Next steps. If you're interested, drop us a line and we can help you look at your security. We can start looking at where your risks are, and hopefully we can work with you to produce pragmatic solutions that aren't going to slow the business down too much and actually raise the awareness of what information security and what IT teams can do to help the business. So if you want to get in touch, there's the email, or give Pete or me a call, or Jonathan.